Well, fellas, we've been talking here off air. Can't wait to get to it on air. Florida State. It's one thing to go overseas and, it's a game, it's in Dublin, and maybe the guys had too much Guinness. I don't know. But then you go to Boston College. I mean, Florida State 0-2? Are you kidding me? I think the rapture's coming. That's almost like sacrilege.
Well, that's how good the ACC is, Larry. The 10th best team in the country is last place. So they're that good. And no, man, it's I Florida State's really a struggle bus when you look at and they went out and got their a quarterback they wanted, and it just hasn't. They just don't look good. They don't look good. They don't like they're using them correctly. They just really look like a team that's completely out of sorts. Still time to right the ship, obviously, but man, rough start.
Yeah, and of course it caused a major incident on Twitter when some Florida State fan said that he would eat doggy doo-doo if they lost two in a row, and then abruptly had to end his Twitter account because the rest of the Twitter universe demanded that he do it because he said he would also make a video of it. My thought is you could have used a Baby Ruth and got away with it, but too much Scooby-Doo for me when I'm a kid. But nobody expects Florida State to go through this, and especially coming off an undefeated regular season that they had last year.
You could have done the Training Day reference, the Denzel Washington movie with the guy in the peanut butter, chunky peanut butter.
Yep.
That's another time, though. All right, it's a family show. Yeah. By the way, Florida State was 0-2 just a few years ago, but you think about this program and what they've been over the past several decades. It's just crazy to think. To your point, coming off the undefeated season, and all the talk about the team that coulda, shoulda, would have been in the college football playoff. You can make that argument all day long. And then now they're starting 0-2. Meanwhile, Clemson, the other big program in the ACC, also just did not look like a team. Here's a chance against Georgia. Again, we've talked about, even if you don't win, be competitive, and they weren't last week. This was Georgia from start to finish.
Had Clemson had any type of offensive firepower at all, that game was 6-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
Clemson had a chance to be in that game, and had they put just a little bit of pressure on Georgia, they put none. I mean, it was like Georgia was just a matter of time before they were going to win this game. It was just by how much, and they dominated. I mean, just a really poor performance in the second half.
Dabo has decided that he doesn't want to use the transfer portal. And for the life of me, I don't understand why people fall in love with tools. I've never yet run into a contractor who's told me, you know what, I don't use screwdrivers. I believe in nails. They use the appropriate tool for the appropriate job. And Dabo has backed himself into a corner where he's basically, it's like a boxer who would say, you know what, I'm just going to win this fight with my left hand. I'm not going to punch with my right because I don't like using it. You don't win a lot, and he's hurting his team by making this decision. And I don't understand why he's doubling and tripling down on not doing anything in the portal, because it's impossible to recruit perfectly. If other teams can go, we missed on a cornerback, but I got this really good guy from Michigan, or I got this really good guy from Texas to come and fill the hole, that's great. But if you miss and you're not willing to do that, you're going to lose to the teams that are.
Mike Dabo has tools. He has all the tools he needs. They're just, he has a tool at quarterback ever since Trevor Lawrence left.
And then you add that to it, Brad. You add that you've misrecruited or missed on your 5 stars. I mean, it's never one thing, but I don't understand this rejection of a tool. It's just another way to win, right?
So Florida State 0-2, basically kiss the playoff goodbye, unless maybe they can resurrect themselves. We'll see if they can go on a big winning streak here. Clemson, they got to figure something out. Is Miami now for real? Could they be the one team from the ACC that gets into the 12-team playoff?
I tell you what, they look good. They controlled Florida. I mean, they looked really good. I feel like they're a team that they've solidified their quarterback position. Of course, there's going to become a time when they fail to take a knee and lose a game at some point because of it. So, there is the Mario football factor. So that could hurt them down the road. But yeah, I think they're good enough to win this ACC.
They've got the talent to do that. And I look at Florida on the other side where the fans are they're ready to fire Billy Napier. And I just look at Florida as the difference between the University of Illinois and the University of Florida's football program is Florida hired two guys over their 100-year history, Spurrier and Mr. Meyer, that were great coaches, and Illinois never has. Because remember, when we were growing up, Florida was like, man, they should be a lot better than they are. They're never really that good. They've got to hire the right guy. Otherwise, that program is just a 6-6 program for all the mystique people want to put around it. It's because they hired two fantastic coaches, and they don't have one right now.
Watch Florida now go change their shoes to Skechers so that Coach Billy Napier won't have shoelaces after these games. Thank you to Tony Cordero, our producer, for that. So getting to the top of the hour here, I want to get in really quick. With all the talk about, Florida State and Clemson wanting to leave the ACC, the question now is, I know it's just 1 year, it's a couple of weeks. Who does the SEC take if they expand, and even the Big Ten for that matter? Are these two programs right now with the stuff that's been happening and then the legal stuff going on, are these two teams that either conference would want?
I still think Florida State is. I don't get the Clemson allure very much, but I still think Florida State is a team. I think North Carolina is the team that has a lot of, especially with the Big Ten. I think they're a great fit from an academic standpoint as well. I don't know. I'm not in the ACC. I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't see the allure. Maybe I don't feel like they are great commodities. USC, Oregon, Washington, commodities, right? Those are schools you want to get in there. Just not sold on these guys outside of maybe Florida State, North Carolina.
Yeah, I look at Florida State still being a valuable commodity. I look at North Carolina being a valuable commodity. Duke, you have the basketball program, but that's never going to be an equivalent for the football side. The other team that really intrigues me in the ACC is Georgia Tech. I know they don't look at metropolitan areas, but if you were to bring in Florida State and Georgia Tech, that gets you into Florida and Georgia, two of the most football crazy states, and it makes recruiting there a little bit easier. I think Clemson is a regional team. I think they fit great in the SEC, but as producer Tony Cordero has said before, they're good with one coach when he's got super good quarterbacks. And then 35 years ago, they were good when they had the fridge. And then I don't know when before that. So I don't know if they're somebody the Big Ten would want. They're a national conference from coast to coast.
Yeah. Well, the conversation continues. Hour number 2 for most of our stations after this. All right, pick time. And as usual, after week 1, Mr. Sturdy leads. He was 2-1 last week. Mike and I were less than that. Let's just leave it at that. So, look, Mike, here's the one thing. At least he wasn't 3-0. Usually he goes 3-0 on these things. At least he lost one.
I want to keep it classy, but I wonder if he's using performance-enhancing drugs.
I'm not sure. I think so.
It's possible.
I
do.
He's got that.
Inject myself with the correct scores.
He's got that bottle over there that the label's torn off. I think that's.
We never know what it is, and he gets the right picks every week, or sometimes we don't know what it is.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get to our picks this week. So, producer Tony says, "Well, God smiled on him because he picked Notre Dame." Of course, Tony would say that. The guy with the Notre Dame tattoo. All right.
My wife goes, "Why are you cheering for Notre Dame? I thought you didn't like them." I said, "Well, I do this week."
and they came through for you. Yeah.
That's right. Tennessee, NC State. Who do you like?
Give me the Volunteers. I like Tennessee. I really think Tennessee's a little bit a team that actually has a legit chance of making a run. The SEC's tough, but I really think this is a good team, good football team. And NC State underwhelmed me a little bit in that in the opening week.
Yeah, I've got to go with Tennessee as well. I think they've got a ton of athletic talent. Whether they can put it together on a Saturday across from a Georgia, at Alabama, Ole Miss, that will be to be seen. But they've got an outstanding team from a pure talent standpoint.
Yeah, I'm going Vols too, and Josh Heupel I trust. Meanwhile, Oregon, a game that, on paper a month ago, you kind of said, yeah, they're going to roll past this. Boise State, maybe a tougher opponent than we thought. Unfortunately, we don't have. Remember the game when Boise State beat Oregon and they The guy punched, was it Ladarius Blunt, punched the kid in the mouth on national. It was one of the best shots ever. I laughed my you-know-what off. But okay, those guys aren't around. Boise State, Oregon, do the Broncos have a chance?
I think they do have a chance, but I like the Ducks. Oregon's one of my picks. I think Oregon and Ohio State are both going to be in the college football playoff. So if Oregon loses this game, then I'll be wrong. So they need to win.
Yeah, I got to go with Oregon. I think Oregon now has had their 1 week, and Dan Lanning can just light this team up for a week, and Boise State is in a very uncomfortable place to be the team that they've got to beat after underwhelming the country last weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to go Oregon. I think, again, if they're the team we think they are, they get this win. If they don't, then maybe they weren't, and we'll see what happens the rest of the way. All right, the big game of the week, Texas taking on Michigan. I've had this circled on my calendar since June. Longhorns or Wolverines? What do you think?
I'm going with the Longhorns. I think Michigan is still finding their way. New coach, new players, a lot of new faces on offense. I just feel like Texas has the guy at quarterback, the veteran, Quinn Ewers. They've also got a backup. So if you have somebody go down, you can just put in this, super 5-star stud, quarterback too. So I just think Texas is the team that that should handle Michigan. It doesn't mean I don't think Michigan's good. I just don't think they're on that level yet.
Yeah, if this game was later in the year, I would have a little more confidence picking Michigan, but I think that Michigan defense still may be one of the top 2 or 3 in the country. So I'm going to go with Texas just because of the offense being so bad. I'm from Michigan.
I'm going to go with Michigan. I think that Connor Stallions, in the honor of his documentary being on Netflix, he turned over all of his notes to Coach Moore, and he already did some play stuff from 2 years ago. So they're going to steal plays and find a way. Michigan, hail to the victors. All right, we got to run. We're out of time. Appreciate you guys stopping by and all of our guests as well. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the weekend as always. Be safe. We'll see you next week.